My role is to help overcome self-imposed limitations in realizing one's spiritual potential. And now we talked to you a little bit about the fundraising for the housekeeping stuff that they make me do around the radio station. I'd also like to invite you to get a copy of my book, Close Your Eyes So You Can See Me. The premise of this book is that we are all God's children and that we do not need more self-improvement. Rather, what we need is self-discovery. Close Your Eyes So You Can See Me is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and on most online bookstores. And if it's not in their bookstore, well, you're going to the wrong bookstore. So go get one today. It's not too early to start shopping for Christmas. I think Home Depot's already putting up their decorations for this year's Christmas. So have fun. And I do have a neat announcement tonight. I'm glad to tell you that myself, Elizabeth Preston, and Dr. John Smith, we are finally putting together that workshop that you have been waiting for. It's going to be on June 22nd in the People's Republic of Claremont. So you can come on down. It'll be from 10 in the morning to 2:30 in the afternoon. It's going to be at Elizabeth Art Studio. It's $35 for the program, and you can also register through the website at viewpointwithfatherjohn.com. Just when you click on the support button, as you put in your stuff to the PayPal where it says memo, just put workshop. And I'll be giving you more information as we get closer as to what the workshop's going to be about. It is the journey to your true self, and we're going to talk about making that great discovery of who you really are, opposed to who you thought you've been, and places where you've gotten in your own way, where you can find new freedoms. Tonight I'm kind of excited. I have some great guests on the show for you this evening. I have one who is the Youth Prevention Coordinator. That is Belinda Ordaz.
Yes, Ordaz.
She's looking at me. She says, let's see if that white Irish guy can say a Hispanic name. And the prevention specialist, Jasmin Salavar, and they're both with the National Council on Alcohol and Drug Dependence, NCADD, of San Gabriel and Pomona Valleys. As a disclaimer, I need to let you know I am on the board of that organization, so for clarity, so NBC doesn't send me a thing saying, how come you didn't say you're on the board, and all the disclosure you're supposed to do. So ladies, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, I appreciate you being here. Talk a little bit about what it is that you are doing. And Belinda, we'll start with you.
Okay, yeah. So we work, like you said, work for the National Council on Alcoholism and Drug Dependence, and Jasmine and myself specifically work for the Community Prevention Services Program. So we focus primarily on preventing all kinds of different substances, so marijuana amongst youth specifically, underage drinking and binge drinking, again with our youth and adults. And then we also do a lot of prevention and education around prescription drugs and over-the-counter drugs, and again to prevent the misuse of prescription drugs and the abuse of them as well. So.
Well, the other night I watched a whole hour documentary on marijuana. And I come to believe that all documentaries should be watched that way. I'm just kidding. So right now I hear my mailbox rattling with the letters for that one. Anyhow, so when you say you're doing prevention, that can mean a lot of things to a lot of people. I mean, I know a couple of my listeners who probably think you're staying outside the cooler at the liquor store saying, get away from here, and that's the idea of prevention. What does it mean? Are you going out into schools? Are you educating people? What's going on?
So I agree. When people hear the word prevention, they think we are anti-everything.
Right.
Yeah, so it's definitely not what it is. So prevention is more of education. So educating, specifically us, we educate our youth, so our younger population, specifically more underage individuals, on how these drugs and using these substances can affect their life negatively if they use them at a young age. So we do that through education, and really we just want to empower them and give them the knowledge that they need. So if they ever come across a decision that they have to make, we hope that they make the best decision, because Jasmine and myself have done our job, hopefully.
Sure. And this is all evidence-based approach, correct?
Yes. So we do a evidence-based curriculum called Life Skills Training with middle schools, elementary schools, and some high school students. We teach them the facts pretty much about all of these substances, so marijuana, tobacco, electronic cigarettes, prescription drugs, current trends, things like that. And then to support that and to kind of supplement that education, we also teach them on how to cope with different things that they're going through in their life. We know that, at a young age, those our students are going through so many things. They're transitioning.
Yes.
Yeah, from elementary school to middle school to high school, and we know they encounter a bunch of different circumstances and situations. So we also teach them how to cope with anxiety, stress.
And I'm sorry to interrupt you that. And they're dealing with things that my generation didn't have to deal with as much.
Yes.
Case in point, we always had bullying, but the bullying was not to the extent that you have now, where you are stalked online, where they have more ways of getting to you. I mean, the most we got was, we got harassed, and sometimes it turned into a fight. But not like what these children are getting, where people are altering photos of them, putting out things that we would never think to say as we were children. And medically, kids are growing up faster than they did in my generation. Women are receiving their first menstrual cycle much younger. And the pressure sexually is much greater than it used to be. And, it's funny, because sometimes I'll do something on grief, and this will all come together in just a second. I know I just seem like a senile old man, but it does come together. 50 years ago, and I've talked about this on the show before, the way things have changed, you can talk about death. In fact, in the Midwest, most houses had a room called a parlor. And the parlor was for social gatherings, but also when somebody died, the family would wash the body, dress the body, and they would have the wake at the house. And we used to say the difference between an Irish wedding and an Irish wake is one less drunk. It's the basic difference. Now, you could talk about death and do all that, but you couldn't talk about sex. It was taboo. 50 years later, we can't talk about death. I mean, we have all these euphemisms. What we have, they expired. They passed. Well, my library card expired. I'm going to get it renewed. Are you going to go renew my sister? But we can talk about sex all you want. So much so that kids are being so overwhelmed with it, and yet they lose somebody in their family who dies, or a kid at school dies. And I buried a lot of children this last year, and you can't really talk openly about it. We use circumlocution, anything to keep from talking about the real feelings with it. So I bring that up because when you're talking about the prevention, some of the things the kids are dealing with that you're dealing with is much more difficult than what I had to deal with. And so my heart really goes out to them. And the stuff that you do, you actually, you're a prevention specialist. Now, what's a prevention specialist?
So I'm a youth prevention specialist, so my main job is to work with the youth, and kind of like what Belinda was saying, is educating them on what these substance use can do to them, empowering them, because we know, situations come up where they will be offered to try substances, but we want them to stay educated and make their best decisions. So a lot of what I do is we do LST in the classrooms where we teach them the different topics that Belinda talked about. I also run a youth club. Belinda is also a part of that, where we do a lot of community service events with them, where we empower them to also, we first educate them as well, and then we empower them to go out into the community and do that same work as well. So educating their peers. Educating their peers. And then we also do that on their campuses. And then we also for example, this week is actually National Prevention Week. So we were out at the different high schools that we work at, and we were tabling for the different topics for every day, and we invite them to come out and table with us.
Oh, good.
So that they're also informing their peers, and they're doing the work. So a lot of my job is also empowering them to do what we do.
And we often teach best that which we need to learn most. And so I think it's good that you have as being part of this. And I would imagine that there's a lot of bad information out there as well. What are some of the things that you sometimes have to correct with some of these kids that are almost street side pharmacists these days?
Yeah.
One of the ones that I hear a lot, and I just hear all the time is that marijuana cures cancer. So, yeah.
Wow.
If you didn't know it, yeah. So we get that a lot when we talk about marijuana. Right now, marijuana is a very hot topic with our youth.
Oh, yeah.
It's very normalized in the community. They don't perceive it as harmful. It's safe because it's a plant. Just
It's
all
natural.
kinds. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
natural.
Heroin comes from a plant, too.
Right? So, yeah, I always get that, oh, marijuana cures cancer, or I use marijuana, doctors recommend marijuana, so, I should use it when I'm struggling with stress and things like that.
Actually, I don't think they can even use it before the age 18, if I'm correct on that.
So 18 if they have a recommendation from
Right.
a doctor, yeah, and if not, it's 21.
Doctor's slip, right. 21 otherwise. And one thing that I would suspect, I'm guessing this, I'm just going by what I see when I'm driving around town, is a lot of the kids don't realize it's against the law to have it in your car.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, if you're transporting, if you're working for one of the shops and you're transporting, it has to be sealed a certain way for it to be legal. But just a couple weeks ago, I'm driving through Pomona, and all the smoke they're doing is coming out of the car, and not one of these kids was 18. And I see him pass the joint over to the driver. He took a couple of hits off it, passed it back, and this car was so full of smoke that I thought I was going to have to get my car drug tested for driving by it, because it was that thick coming through it. And speaking of getting into the thick, we're coming up to our first commercial break, and so I'm not going to say smoke them if you got them, because we're talking about that. But you are tuned into Viewpoint with Father John. We'll be back in 2 and 2.
The loss of a loved one is one of the most challenging experiences in a person's life. It's hard to know where to turn to make your loved one's final arrangements. Jesse Ruiz at Personal Funeral Planning in Ontario will treat you and your loved one with the respect you deserve. Jesse served in the Marine Corps in Desert Storm and understands what it takes to provide loyal, personalized, and empathetic service to those who need it most. The families of Michael Jackson, Brittany Murphy, Ed McMahon, and many others have trusted Jesse to provide them with the highest level of service and support. To work with Jesse, call 909-762-4027, 909-762-4027, or visit their website, www.4pfp.org. www.4pfp as in personalfuneralplanning.org. Jesse Ruiz and Personal Funeral Planning, veteran-owned and operated, helping you plan a personal, lasting tribute for your loved one. www.4pfp.org.
So, you want to be in show business. Do people tell you that you're really funny, you have a great personality, and you should have your own talk show? Many of us have been told that, but we don't know how to get started. It's easier than you think. Let the pros at Cali Vegas give you a free talent evaluation. Call 949-445-1119 and learn how quickly you can create, produce, and host your very own talk show. Imagine not having to sit in traffic every day, commuting back and forth to the same old boring job. Get started in television or radio today with your free talent evaluation from Cali Vegas. Call 949-445-1119 or visit them online at calivegas.com. Make your dream come true today and create your new career and learn how to become a television or radio star with the help of Cali Vegas. 949-445-1119. Call now.
And welcome back. You are tuned to KCAA Radio, 1050 AM, 102.3 FM, 106.5 FM, or on the World Wide Web at kcaaradio.com. This is Viewpoint with Father John, and I am your host, Father John Reid. And a reminder that you can also follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Viewpoint with Father John. And Frank's looking at me like he has all kinds of anxiety. How you doing tonight, Frank? I got him flat-footed.
I haven't quite gotten over that first joke you cracked.
Well, drink some water, take a little niacin. It'll be out of your system before you test. Okay. All right. And tonight I have two wonderful guests who are both from the National Council on Drug and Alcohol Dependence of San Gabriel Valley and Pomona Valley. And that's Belinda and Jasmin. They are both in prevention, dealing with the youth, which is really difficult because youth are really smart. And I learned a long time ago, don't ever try to outsmart an adolescent. They're 2 steps ahead of you, and they will come up with stuff that you will never think of. Has that been your experience as well?
Yes, very much so.
So what are some of the things you enjoy about the job and some of the things you don't enjoy about the job?
So for myself, the things that I personally enjoy is making those connections and building those relationships with our youth. So whenever we talk to different students at different high schools, different young people, we always ask, like, how many of you guys have an adult that you feel like you can trust and talk to and, tell them
Good question.
anything? Most of the time, maybe we have 1 or 2 students out of 30 raise their hand. And then it's great to see how at the end of our lesson or at the end of our course, when we ask the same question again, most of them raise their hand because they feel like they are comfortable to talk to myself or Jasmin.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So building those relationships and just being someone that they can talk to and reach out to. And like today, we actually ended one of our schools that we teach at. Today was our last class. And so we gave them our social media, the NCADD account. And we said, if you guys ever need anything, DM us, message us. We're here for you guys. And I think they appreciate that. And we appreciate that because it's nice for them to tell us, thank you. We're going to miss you. And that now that they have an adult that they can talk to.
What was the first messaging you said? You said they Facebook you or email you. You said ways that they can get hold of you.
Oh, so on Instagram. So NCADD has our Instagram. It's at NCADD_ESGPV. So go ahead and follow us. But they can DM us, so direct message us.
Oh, that's what that is.
Yeah.
I'm an old man. Come on. I didn't know what that meant. And I thought, okay, I know what FaceTime is. What's that? It's not easy, I'm telling you.
Well, now you can tell people, hey, DM me.
When I was a kid, come on, we were still doing Morse code. You ever try that with dyslexia? You don't know which way to tap the table. So anyhow, Jasmine, what are some things you like about what you do?
Oh, man, I could be here all night, but I won't do that. But I think what initially attracted me to this job is working with the youth, like Belinda said. But as I've been proceeding with my job and what I've been doing, I think it's just working with the community. We work really closely with the city of Pomona. We are very involved with coalitions, with the schools, and parents too of these kids. So it's really nice when we're going around Pomona and going to different meetings, and I can recognize parents, community members, even youth. I really love that, and it's really cool too because, like Belinda was saying, not only do the youth create this bond with us and feel comfortable, but even these other community members and even parents, we've given presentations where they'll have full-on conversations with us and disclose very personal information because they feel that close and comfortable to us. So it makes me really happy to know that we're providing that for the families in Pomona and the community there too.
Well, it suggests you're very good presenters with the material, because for the parents to be able to ask you questions and to be vulnerable like that means you've made them feel very comfortable. So I commend you on that. That can sometimes be difficult. I've seen where some people go on, because I worked in the field for years. My brother was the guy who started the whole KCAA system, Bob Reid. He and Don Russ started the whole thing. And so I used to speak at different schools and stuff. And what I'd see is when some presenters would come off like they knew everything, people closed up. Yeah. It sounds like, if I'm hearing you correctly, you more go in and relate with them, and you allow yourself to be a little bit vulnerable with them so that they can be vulnerable with you. Would that be an accurate statement?
Yes.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
We do that a lot in LST, which is life skills training. Again, this is when we're in the classroom. I really applaud Belinda on that too. I love that she does that. But in the classroom, we were kids too. We were their age, and we always share that with them. Like, we understand some of your struggles. And so we always do give them our little bits of our history or even stories and experiences that we've been through.
Good.
And then we also take on even what the children, the students share with us in LST, and we do share that in our presentations. So it like lets parents know like these are real life.
Now, do you do any role play with them at all, or?
We haven't done any role play. I know there's other partnering organizations within our community that do reality parties. So
Okay.
I'm not sure if you're familiar with the reality party, but it's pretty much where the students go on stage and perform what actually happens at a real party.
Okay.
So they act it out. They have props. They're playing drinking games, and they're showing their parents are there watching. And so at the end of the reality parties, the parents are like, wow, like that stuff really happens. And they're talking to their kids, and their kids are like, yes, like this stuff happens. So them being able to act it out instead of verbally telling their mom, hey, this is what I've seen at a party.
Sure.
It's totally different. And the parents respond very well to it. And it provides education to parents. And parents really want to know. When me and Jasmin talk to parents, they very want to know what's going on. And they're curious. A lot of parents don't know what to do. So I'm very happy that me and Jasmin are able to provide that information to them.
Yeah, it's sort of intuitive too, because when I went to parties as a kid, it was to escape reality, not to party out reality. So we had a different approach to it. So what are the things you don't like about the job? Because there's always the parts that are difficult. And that's not meant as a trick question. I know that when I worked in the field, whenever we'd lose a kid, either through death, of overdose, or through suicide, or that they just wind up disappearing and you don't know what happened to them, that was the part I hated. What are some things that make what you do difficult for you?
For myself, I think it's just the disconnect between the parents and the student. And
Yes.
it's not necessarily to say that the parent is a bad parent. I'm not saying that at all. It's just the student feels that they can't talk to their parent. The parent feels like they don't know how to talk to their student, or they may be talking to the student in the wrong way, and they don't know that. So seeing that disconnect, and then with that disconnect, it also causes the student to act out, and again, use these substances to cope with how they're feeling.
Sure.
So just seeing that behavior and that dynamic between the parent and the student, that kind of like breaks my heart. And so that's why
Wow.
I love my job, to kind of build that bridge between student and parent.
Yeah, that'd be very painful. What about for you?
I would have to say that the biggest struggle for me is trying to demonstrate to the students that I'm not just one other adult, another person with authority telling them not what to do.
Right.
Rather, trying to demonstrate to them that I'm someone who cares about them, and I do care about their overall life health quality and their success. And so it's hard when they see you that way, and they perceive you as someone who's just another person telling them what not to do.
Right.
And so I think we try our best to positively reinforce the students and let them know that that's not the place we come from. We come from a place of we care for them.
Right.
And like Belinda said earlier, sometimes these students don't have someone who cares about them or
right.
gives them that attention. But we also try and demonstrate to them that, one, we believe in them. That there is an adult who cares for you. And if there's no one else, then that they know that it is us. It is us.
Well, and one of the things that you're fighting against is the rules of survival in a dysfunctional home are don't trust, don't talk, don't feel. So when you're dealing with that, and then you have a couple of very nice people come from an organization, and they hear the word prevention, sometimes that's as far as they get. The other thing I've seen, and let me know if you've had experience with this, where the kid's doing everything that they can to cope, but they have an alcoholic mom or dad, and the parent shows up very defensive and very angry and saying, you're just trying to turn my kid against me. Do you ever get any of that?
So we've never had a situation directly like that where we pinpoint a student and we know the parent's history and background, but we've had instances where we're talking about for example, marijuana, and we were in a 6th grade class, we're talking about marijuana, and one of the students, she was like, well, my family grows marijuana in her home. And so, like, just very plain and blunt, and so she didn't think it was bad. So we're kind of battling that normative behavior of marijuana, and, you know, the parents are using it, and they don't kind of not hide it, but they don't talk to their kids about it, about why they're using it as an adult and why their kids shouldn't use it because they're students, because they're kids. So we're kind of battling against that.
Sure. And I'd also be curious, and there's probably no way for you to know this, but if the parent is using it for medicinal uses, or if they're doing it for recreational, which is a whole different things. And while it doesn't cure cancer, we know that for sure medically, it can calm some of the symptoms. But it's not a panacea. And just because someone gets a diagnosis doesn't mean they should go out and you know, get a joint or whatever it is they're going to do. And it's so prevalent. I learned, because I didn't even know this until I ran across someone who was doing it, they even have marijuana vapes.
Yes.
And one of my concerns with the schools is that because the kids are doing vapes like there's no tomorrow. Are they doing regular vape, or are they doing cannabis vape? And the teachers don't know. You know, so
Yeah. So we hear that all the time. If you can talk to any high school student and we ask, hey, do they smoke at your school? Yeah, they're vaping in the bathroom or even in the classrooms. We hear students all the time say, yeah, we vape in the classrooms, or I have a friend that vapes in the classroom. And just the term vape, traditionally, it was kind of like for e-cigarettes, so like electronic cigarettes.
Right.
And now they have the cannabis concentrates, which is kind of like an oil, and they put it in the vape pens now. So even though it's vape pens, it's cannabis, it's THC in there, and it has no smell usually, so the teachers can't tell or smell it.
Well, yeah, because I know a couple people who use them, and it's for medical stuff. They have some severe medical stuff going on, but I didn't know about till one said, because I deal with chronic pain, you want to try my vape? I said, I don't smoke. He says, oh, no, this is different. I said, what's different about it? And that's when they told me. I said, they do that in a vape now? He said, yeah. I said, well, I still don't want it, but I said, I'm just shocked, you know, so because one of the things that I know was a problem for a few years there was what we call bath salts, and some of the synthetic stuff that they were doing, and kids were just going to hospitals left and right, and some of them dying. I've buried some of the kids who overdosed on the bath salts, and so
so there was actually an incident in Paulding County, where Paulding County, I'm not sure, I think it's more on the East Coast.
Okay.
But a student had a vape pen, was smoking a vape pen at school. Another student offered it to him in the bathroom, and he ended up having a heart attack. And it's because the extract, the little cartridges, which is what they put in the vape pen, they have pesticides in it, or the students are getting them from somewhere that might be illegal. We're not sure how the students are getting it, but obviously they're getting it in an illegal way. So it's cheaper oftentimes. It's more affordable for students, and it's cheaper because they're using pesticides. It's not the best quality of cannabis extract. So, yeah, he actually had a heart attack, and it was in the news, and like an article that we read about at work. So
they're having the problem with opioids where they're cutting heroin with fentanyl. And a lot of people are dying from that. I know there's a big thing going on in New York right now where they're really trying to rethink all this and how are they going to deal with this problem, because a lot of people are dying just left and right thinking that they're getting straight heroin and it's been cut with fentanyl. And you know, the only reason I know about fentanyl is because I've been a hospice chaplain for so many years, and we use it with some of our more severely painful patients. You know, we put the patch on them, but when you start cutting with that stuff, that is really powerful stuff.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about the farm parties?
Oh, yeah. So something that we've...
I'm going to have to get a little closer to the mic.
Thank you. Something that we've discovered, too, with this, along with the job, is that teens are having something called farm parties. Essentially, that just stands for students are out there, teens. They are grabbing prescription medications from their
Parents' medicine
yeah,
cabinet.
their medicine cabinets, not really looking at what it is, and then let's just say there's like 5 different medications in there. They'll grab one. Parents probably don't even notice that one is missing, and then they take them out into a party. They'll combine all of these different pills into a bowl, and then usually take a handful. And most times at these parties, there's also alcohol involved.
Sure.
So they'll drink that and follow it up with alcohol, and that has resulted in like overdosing. And of course, you know, sometimes alcohol and drugs don't, or almost always don't mix. So
I find it absolutely horrifying what you're sharing.
Yes, and so when we find like this stuff out, we mention what we find from the students and, you know, their testimonies. We mention it to the parents, and they're the same way. They're baffled. And we even had a student ask us, you know, how can I tell the difference between a fake pill and a real pill? And because we're talking about prescription pills and how they're being sold illegally, and then they're being laced with fentanyl, and that's what's causing a lot of overdoses.
Right.
And so we get questions, well, how do I tell, you know, a fake pill from a real pill? Like, well, you shouldn't be using pills at all. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, so it's scary, and it's very dangerous, but that's what our young people are doing now. And a lot of students that we talk to, they know someone that is using prescription pills to get high, and it's very common now. And like Jasmin said, you know, all of us have prescription pills most likely in our medicine cabinets, right? And it's something that we don't think about locking it away. So if, you know, if I have medication in my medicine cabinet and a younger nephew comes over and he takes 2 of my pills that I hypothetically have, I would never notice if 1 or 2 pills are missing from my bottle. Yeah. So another thing that we also do, we work with a community that has medication in their cabinets, and talk about safe storage and safe disposal, again, to prevent students or youth, anyone, because this can happen to anyone. Prescription pills can be used by anyone.
And a lot of people don't know that there's an actual way you're supposed to dispose of prescription medication. I know when I was with hospice, what we'd have to do is have a witness with us. We put it in a diaper. We would soak it, crush it up, and throw the diaper away. Now, I don't know if they're still doing that or not, but they definitely don't want you flushing them down the toilet.
No.
You see these 3-eyed frogs that are all high on the side of the road there saying, buddy, can't you spare a dime? And so... And so that's a problem. Speaking of Buddy Can't You Spare a Dime, we're coming up to our next commercial break, and I'll be having to ask for more dimes if we don't go to it. So my guests this evening are Belinda and Jasmin from, I almost said Adult Children Alcoholics, but no, they're from the NCADD. And while we're at commercial, I'm going to get reminded where we are tonight.
The loss of a loved one is one of the most challenging experiences in a person's life. It's hard to know where to turn to make your loved one's final arrangements. Jessie Ruiz at Personal Funeral Planning in Ontario will treat you and your loved one with the respect you deserve. Jessie served in the Marine Corps in Desert Storm and understands what it takes to provide loyal, personalized, and empathetic service to those who need it most. The families of Michael Jackson, Brittany Murphy, Ed McMahon, and many others have trusted Jessie to provide them with the highest level of service and support. To work with Jessie, call 909-762-4027, 909-762-4027, or visit their website, www.4pfp.org. www.4pfp as in personalfuneralplanning.org. Jessie Ruiz and Personal Funeral Planning, veteran-owned and operated, helping you plan a personal, lasting tribute for your loved one. www.4pfp.org.
Now, here's a new concept: digital network advertising, where businesses display your ad inside their building. If a picture's worth 1,000 words, your company is going to thrive with digital network advertising. Choose your marketing sites or jump on the DNA system and advertise with all participants. Your business ad or logo is rotated multiple times an hour inside local businesses where people will discover your company. Digital network advertising. DNA, a novel way to be seen and remembered. Digital network advertising with networks in Redlands and Yucaipa. Call in the 909 area 222-9293 for introductory pricing. That's 909-222-9293 for Digital Network Advertising. One last time, Digital Network Advertising, 909-222-9293.
And welcome back, friends. You are tuned to KCAA Radio, 1050 AM, 102.3 FM, 106.5 FM, or on the World Wide Web at kcaaradio.com. This is Viewpoint with Father John, and I am your host, Father John Reid. And brothers and sisters, I do want to remind you that Viewpoint with Father John is a listener-supported program. So please go to viewpointwithfatherjohn.com, go to the select button, click on that, and whatever you can give, we appreciate it. And for those of you who've been giving to keep us on air, I am really grateful to you. Again, I want to invite you to buy a copy of my book, Close Your Eyes So You Can See Me. That's another way to help support the show. And just a reminder that Dr. John Smith, Elizabeth Preston, and myself on June 22nd in Claremont are doing a one-day workshop on the journey to your true self. This is really going to be a great workshop. Dr. Smith is a licensed psychotherapist. Elizabeth is a award-winning artist and also a presenter of creative journaling, both dominant and non-dominant hand. And I will be handling some of the spiritual aspects of that great journey and learning how to forgive oneself. So I really want to recommend, we're going to be offering that for $35 a person. And if you want to know more about, we'll be putting stuff on Facebook and on Instagram. And if you also want to register, you can go to the support button at Viewpoint with Father John, and then on the memo, just put workshop. And it'll have your information so I can continue to get a hold of you and let you know more about it. And my guests this evening are from NCADD, that's National Council on Drug and Alcohol and Drug Dependence. You know I'm dyslexic, I had to do that, of East San Gabriel Valley and Pomona Valleys.
Yes.
And we want to talk a little bit about Drug Take-Back Day is coming up, isn't it?
So it actually just passed. It was
just
April
passed.
27th.
Must have been a good one, I don't remember.
Yeah, so the DEA sponsors 2 national drug take-back days throughout the year. So usually it's in April and then in October. So we actually just had one, and it was really good turnout. We partnered with Pomona PD, and we set up a booth there, and it was really nice. But they also, on their website, I believe it's takebackday.dea.gov.
Okay.
You can log on there, and you can enter your zip code, and you can find year-round disposal sites where you can properly dispose of your prescription medications instead of flushing them down the toilet or throwing them in the trash can. There's always year-round disposal sites. So
That's good to know. And also legally, so that people know, a medication can only be prescribed once. It can only be issued by a pharmacist once. You cannot take medications back to a pharmacist for reissue. That is against the law. It's a felony. So just so you know, so people are wondering about that, do you ever get used drugs from pharmacies? Not unless the pharmacist wants to go to jail.
Exactly.
So, and there was another thing about talking to parents.
yes.
How do you talk to parents?
How do we talk to parents about their students, correct?
And how do parents talk to their students? Yeah.
Yeah, so I think something that we really try to educate on our parents is how to talk to their students.
Yes.
Like we mentioned before, students feel that they can't talk to their parents, and it's often because I'm not a parent, but I do have, younger siblings and stuff. So when I know that they get in trouble, I always want to yell at them and be like, you shouldn't be doing this stuff. Like, it's so bad for you. But that's definitely not the way we should be talking to our younger people. Anybody, adult, child, young adult, we don't want to be told what to do.
Right.
So when we tell our students, hey, don't do this, don't do that, it's going to go in one ear and out the other. So as parents, I think they should come and talk to their child from a place of love,
Right.
and let them know, hey, these are what's bad for you. This is why it's bad for you, and I'm not telling you this to get mad at you or to yell at you, but I care about you and I love you, and I just want you to be safe.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other hand, they should also mention that if you ever do come across a situation where you are offered alcohol at a party, or prescription pills or marijuana or whatever the case is,
Mm-hmm.
and you make the decision to take those substances and you feel like you're scared, you don't know what to do, I think that it's a good idea for parents to say, you can still call me. I would be very, very disappointed in you if you did these things, but I care about you and I don't want you to get in the car and drive under the influence with someone else that's under the influence.
Sure.
So prioritize their safety and then also follow up with consequences too. So,
And if you make that statement to your child, stand by that statement by your child, because they're going to know if you said one thing and did something else.
exactly.
And when I worked in adolescent recovery, one of the things I used to tell parents, don't be afraid to share your experience with them. They don't care about how smart you are. They want to know how you fell down, how you picked yourself back up, and that you've made mistakes too, so they know that you're safe for them to come talk to about their mistakes.
Exactly.
But if, mom and dad have never done anything wrong, and that's the image they give, it's not someone you can go and relate to and talk with.
Exactly.
And also for the parents, just a little thing, I know I'm kind of taking over from where you guys are, but just some stuff I learned along the way. If you're having trouble talking with your kids, you're not alone. I've discovered, and this has been known in psychology for years, we can't help people we share DNA with, but other people's parents can. And so that's where the team approach is so good, that you may have other parents and they can talk to your kids. That's why Alateen is such a great program where, the alcoholic parents can't help their kids, but the other alcoholic parents can help their kid.
Exactly. Yeah.
So-
Because I know personally growing up, I didn't want to talk to my mom. Sorry, Mom. But
Yeah.
I didn't want to talk to my mom. So even as an adult, if you're not a parent, but you have a niece or a nephew or a family friend that's a young adult, be that person for them. Reach out to them, try to see what's going on.
What's your input on this?
I know with children it is hard to talk to them. Kind of same thing with Belinda. I was scared, didn't want to disappoint my mom. I know a lot of students can share that experience with me, but I think letting your child know that you're there for them no matter what they do, and that they can also come to you if they ever need anything, is way better than them going with who knows who, doing who knows what, and then it's something really bad happening at the end. And that just reminds me too, if we do have any younger people listening to us as well, there is something called the Good Samaritan Law.
Right.
We do let our students know about this too. If you are underage, and let's just say hypothetically speaking, you're underage drinking and one of your friends happens to fall to like alcohol poisoning, don't leave. Due to the Good Samaritan Law, if you call the police, call 911 to help your friend, you will not get in trouble legally.
Right.
So also letting your child know that as well. Hey, if you ever come across something like this at an event or in a situation, or caught in a situation, it's always better to do the right thing and stick around and call for help. So
Very good advice. Now, something I was reading not too long ago, and I'd sure like to get your input on it, that there's been an uprise in date rape drugs. Have you heard anything about that?
We haven't heard anything about it.
Okay.
We hear a lot about, images being sent around as far as, within the schools and things like that, and how that negatively affects the students of whatever photo that is. But
Yeah, so you're talking about photos of people who were loaded and wound up without their clothes on? Okay, I
Yes.
just want to make sure I understand what you're saying.
yeah, so nude photos go around the school, and kids just resend them out, post them
Sure.
on social media. And we even found out that the students don't like it, but they don't say anything either. So
They're afraid to.
Exactly, yeah. And so as far as date rape drugs, though, we haven't heard anything specifically towards that.
No, that's good to know. Like I said, I was reading something just a few weeks ago, and I should have brought it with me because I believe in citing your sources, so forgive me. But they're talking that there's been a lot of problems with that, particularly, and when I was a kid, we thought that this was a joke, but it turns out it was a real thing, what we used to call Spanish flies. And it's a drug that winds up being put in people's drinks, and they're having a lot of problem with this in Mexico right now. and it goes into the woman's drink, and she thinks she's becoming aroused. She's not. It's hitting different sensory things, and it could actually cause burns on different parts of the woman's anatomy from the chemical interaction. And so, yeah, when someone presented me with some of this information, it's like, it was just horrifying what I was reading. So just a little thing there. It's taking place more right now in like Tijuana, Mexicali, those places than it is up here. But, it's real quick jump over that
Travels
border.
far, fast.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So, so we're telling a lot of people, always watch your drink. Don't let anyone get you a drink and bring it back for that very reason.
Yeah.
So,
And we always talk to, when we talk to, like, for example, we work a lot with college students as well. We recently
Right.
did an event at Mount Sac, and we talked about drinking, and we always educate our college students too. If you're over 21 and you're going to be drinking, again, watch your drink and make sure no one's getting your drink for you, like you mentioned, because, it happens. And we're aware.
now Mount Sac is a real college? I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I saw that Chafee. I was required to do that. Sorry, Dr. Smith, he teaches there.
Oh.
So that was a cheap shot. I'm on a budget. So anyhow, yes, it's a good college. It just doesn't have parking.
Oh, yeah. It took us forever to find parking.
So, well, that's good information. What are some of the ideas you'd like to leave our listeners with this evening? Some things that you think are important for them to know?
Be educated on all substances, whether you're underage, whether you're of age to use substances. Just be educated. There's a lot of myths out there, a lot of things that are not true, and people think that they're true because they're posted on social media or
Right.
they just see it posted and they believe it as facts. So just do your research. We also tell our kids that, do your research. And just be safe. If you are of age and using certain substances, be safe. Know what you're getting, where you're getting it from, and just education. We think education is key and very powerful. So just really educate yourself in order so you can make those best decisions for your life.
And whatever you do, where you're using a substance or drinking, do not get behind the wheel.
Yes.
It's just
Yes.
really bad idea. And I'm going to say something else that a lot of people don't think about. Don't go for a stroll around the block, because that's where a lot of people wind up getting run over by cars because they don't realize in their drunkenness or being loaded that they're walking out in the middle of a street and boom, they get hit. So I see way too much of this, unfortunately.
Yeah. Very sad.
Jasmine, what are some thoughts you want to leave the listeners with?
Similar to Belinda, knowledge is power, so educate yourself. And if you have questions, we're here. NCADD is more than happy to answer any questions anyone may have. And also, just be responsible if you are going to do these things. There are other people out there in the world who do get affected by the choices you make. I just want to go ahead and let everyone know that NCADD is here for any questions that they have and any support anyone may need.
How would they get a hold of you?
So we have our information. We always have our Instagram. We're more active on our Instagram. And we also have a Facebook as well. So our Instagram is NCADD_ESGPV. So you can always follow us on Instagram and direct message us. And we respond very quickly. Or we have an email that we can be contacted at. It's prevention@ncaddsgv.org. And they can always email us there, and we can answer any questions. We can come out and do presentations, do anything that they need. So,
And do you also have a Facebook page?
we do have a Facebook page, but we're not as active on there.
Sure.
But yeah, so you guys can also look up Partnership for a Positive Pomona. We're on there as well.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so that's our coalition that we lead, Partnership for a Positive Pomona. So if anyone wants to get involved in youth activities and drug prevention within Pomona, you can contact us there.
Now, let's say that the adolescent decides, this is a problem in my life. What can you offer them in terms of help?
So we do offer treatment for youth as well. Even though we do prevention, we do have a treatment side of NCADD, and we do have a teen program there, so they can always reach out to us, and we can refer them to our teen program. And if they need different services, we always have different partnering organizations that we can refer them to. So
Great.
just reach out to us and we can lead you in the right direction.
And you have offices both in Pomona and Covina, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so in those areas, those are good to know, and they handle the areas around the surrounding areas, but those are where the two offices are located. So that's very good information for them to have. And when you go onto Instagram to check them out, be sure you also click on Viewpoint with Father John and start following us there too. We are getting quite a following there, so I'll have to go follow you guys. You have to come follow us.
Yes.
And we'll be on there. And I know we're going to have them both back again in the future because this is more of a topic than you can handle in one night. And so I want to thank, see, I got him right the first time. Can he do it 2 times in a row? No, that's why we take commercial breaks. So my guests this evening are Belinda Ordaz.
Yes.
Oh,
Perfect.
look at that. And Jasmin Salazar.
Yes.
Oh, wow, I'm 2 for 2. and then that's just Frank in the booth. So it's and so they're from National Council on Drug and Alcohol Dependence of East San Gabriel Valley and Pomona Valley, and they've been giving us a lot of really good information about prevention with adolescents. Now, do you have any programs coming up that you want to tell them about? Any dates?
Just keep a lookout for this week is National Prevention Week, so every day is a different topic. Today is preventing youth tobacco use. Tomorrow we'll be preventing suicide, and we have a lot of different videos and things on our social media, so be sure to check those out.
I will be sure to check those out because that's a real problem. And a quick question before I do my 2-minute warning thing here. A few years ago, one of the big things was methamphetamine. Is that still pretty big with the kids?
No, not
It's not?
so much. It's mostly marijuana and prescription pills right now.
That may be a little better than we realize, but it's not so good if you own a Dr. Beecham's because it's the greatest remover in the world. First it removes the top teeth, then it removes the bottom teeth. And so, yeah, meth is a good spot remover. So anyhow, my guests this evening have been Belinda and Jasmin from NCADD. Just a few things. I want to thank Frank for doing a great job. He's our sound engineer. He's really getting into the swing of things. This is your 3rd or 4th week.
I've already lost track.
You already lost track, see? Yeah. I'm being told 3 fingers over here, so either she wants more whiskey or you've been here 3 weeks. I'm not sure which. And that is Gabby, who is our executive producer and also florist. And those of you who've been watching the page, you know what I mean by that. She does flowers, and people wonder if I still do radio because of all the flower pictures. So I want to thank you for being here with Viewpoint with Father John and spending another hour with us. And next week we will be back. I hope that if no one has told you that they love you this week, that you let me be the first. And thank you for allowing me into your home again this week. And we'll see you next week. And thank you again to my 2 guests for being here. I'm going to let Bethany know you did a great job. And I won't even tell her about you asking me to ask her about the race. Did I say that on the air? I said that on the air. Well, you've been listening to Viewpoint with Father John and the 2 ladies who just became unemployed. We'll
Thank
be back
you for
next
having
week.
us.
Yes.
KCAA Loma Linda. Listen on 1050 AM, 102.3 FM, and 106.5 FM.
I am born a star.